people are worried about this. It is expensive to live in New York City. It's expensive to live anywhere. It's extra expensive to live in New York City. It's fueled this massive swing to the left. And Wall Street's worried.
Wall Street's worried, and you usually don't see these kind of market moves on the back of a primary election in a mayoral race. So this is not even the general election, right? This is a primary to determine who within the Democratic Party will enter that race in November. But I think there's sort of two things here, right? There's that market issue, which of course, stocks connected to New York City real estate, whether they lend to apartments in New York City or whether they are REITs that have exposure to the New York real estate market, those taking a hit on the back of this news. But again, there's the other piece of this, which is the wealthy being concerned. And then, of course, the concerns that if rich residents of New York City leave, you lose that tax base. And I think I kind of break down the rich in New York into three categories. So there are these sort of, young, hotshot Wall Street types who are pretty mobile. You've got the kind of wealthy families in the middle who live in the Upper East Side, Upper West Side. They're kind of stuck in New York. They don't want to leave Dalton or Horace Mann or the Yale Club. So they're kind of stuck. And then you've got the kind of retiree set who love the cultural events. They also have a place down in Florida, and they're fine to go.
The New York Times has got a thing this morning kind of running through who voted. It's a higher income residents, Mamdani. Middle income residents, Mamdani. It was the lower income that actually skewed Cuomo. So that doesn't speak to the story that you're referencing.
Yeah, this is the shift that you're seeing, and it's really interesting in U.S. politics where people aren't necessarily voting in terms of their class interests or even their kind of pocketbook interests. They're voting more on kind of these social issues. And I think one of the things that policymakers and investors are trying to get a sense of is where does the Democratic Party go post-Trump, right? I know people who are working in D.C. in policy right now who are trying to think of legislative proposals that they will implement if a Republican does not win the presidential election. And that gets at this bigger theme of where is the Democratic Party heading? And I think the concern here is you take the New York mayoral primary and you extrapolate it out to the U.S. Is that a kind of sign of a leftward move on policy where people are even voting against their own kind of wealth interests? I think that's why there's been so much market reaction to this. Is this the read for the direction of the Democratic Party?
Yes, because if it were just about being the New York mayor, there's still a whole load of steps between where we are now and this person having the levers of power to control the things, the policies that Critty outlined.
And talking about the levers of power, some of these policy proposals that you're hearing from the candidate would be very difficult to implement. So tax raises on the rich, those would have to be approved by Governor Kathy Hochul, who is a very moderate Democrat. She's from upstate, so that would be difficult. We're hearing about, a significant amount of debt issuance here. That would also be challenging. So I think it's possible to read too far into it. There's a chance that this is happening. But I think the reason why there was such a strong reaction was this was a surprise, but also questions over the direction of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.